Hi there, it's Thursday the 30th of April 2020 and this week we're looking at conversations with God. In particular, Gideon's conversations with God in Judges chapter 6. So far we've seen that Gideon was being honest in his conversation with God, that he was being chosen by God through his conversation as God confirmed that he was indeed with him, that he was being made aware of who God is through his conversation. And today we're thinking about how Gideon was being instructed by God through his conversation. Now think about the different ways that we converse or communicate with each other today. That can be face to face, or it can be over the telephone. It can be video calls, it can be audio calls, WhatsApp, Zoom, Skype, email, Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, you name it. There are 1,001 different ways we communicate with each other these days, but sometimes face-to-face really is the only way that's most appropriate. And this was the way that God was speaking to Gideon. He was speaking to him personally, one-to-one. And this is what he said to Gideon. Gideon, I want you to go and cut down your father's Asherah pole and take one of the bulls from his herd and cut up the Asherah pole, make a fire and sacrifice the bull upon it. Now this was a very difficult thing which God was asking, because the Asherah pole was a symbol, was a shrine to the god Baal. And Baal was the bull god, and his father was a bull god, a Baal worshipper. And so God was asking Gideon to go against his father and his father's religion and do something very different indeed. Picture it this way. Imagine that you grew up in a family where they had a very strong religion, whether it was Muslim or Hindu or Jewish religion or any one of the different religions of the world. And imagine that you became a Christian and you were asked by God to, in a sense, destroy your father's, your family's religion, to go and take their holy book or their holy writings and to cut them up and to destroy them and to cut down any shrines that might have been built up or whatever. Imagine you were asked to do that. That's a very, very difficult thing to do. Gideon did it, however, but he did it under the cover of night because he was afraid to be found out. However, the men of the town, they conducted an investigation in the morning and they found that it was indeed Gideon that had done it. And they said to his father, Joash, we want to kill him for this. But his father, although his father must have been devastated by what had happened, his father loved his son, of course, and didn't want him to die. And so his father interceded for him and said, look, let Baal contend with Gideon. Let Baal deal with him. If Baal really is God, the God we worship, then let Baal deal with Gideon. So just leave him to Baal. And so the men agreed and left him. But they changed Gideon's name and they started to call him Jerub-Baal, which meant Baal will contend with you. What a story that is. Gideon was being instructed by God through his conversation, and it was a very short conversation. In fact, after God said to Gideon to do what he had asked him to do, Gideon didn't actually respond verbally. He simply went and did what he was asked to do, albeit under cover of night. Sometimes our conversations with people can be very short. And sometimes it's because we have been told to do something, perhaps by your boss, or perhaps by your wife, or perhaps by somebody else. And it can be a very short conversation. And actually there's not much to say except to go and do what has been asked of you. Because we know that actions speak louder than words, don't they? So this is exactly what Gideon did. He showed God that he was listening to God. He was listening to his instruction. He didn't need to be told twice. Although he was a bit scared to do it, he went and did it. Sometimes God asks us to do things that are quite difficult to do. And you know, God doesn't ever repeat himself, really. Once he asks us to do it, then that's it. He's not expecting to tell us again. And if we ask God for him to say something else to us, then I think God often speaks to us as they do in Parliament when they are asked the same question over and over again. I refer you to my previous comment. So if God has asked us to do something, he might be silent the next time we speak to him because he's still expecting us to do what he had asked us originally to do. So sometimes our conversations can be quite short because we are being instructed by God. If we have been honest with God, if we understand that God is with us, if we are being made aware of who God is and getting to know him, then we will trust him when he asks us to do something, and we will go ahead and do it and let our actions speak louder than our words. God bless you. Speak to you again tomorrow for our final conversation with God.